Guys, I have had it with these soft life girlies. For the past year, I have watched one propaganda trend after the next take off on social media platforms, whether it be sprinkle sprinkle movement or the I turn my brain off when I'm with my husband or the trad life ballerina farms moment or now the soft girl era. They're all just different flavors of the same recycled message for women, which is don't work, don't make money, be dependent on a man. And the women just keep gobbling this crap up. As of the past couple of weeks, the latest version of this fad, trick your husband and tell him you can't pay your mortgage, has taken off on TikTok. Thousands of women have recorded their partners as they tell them that they won't be able to afford their portion of the mortgage, and the entire gist is to show that their husband is looking very confused and ultimately points out that they don't pay their mortgage at all.
Baby, I went shopping this month and I don't have enough money to pay our mortgage.
Pay a mortgage for this house?
Yeah, like I don't have the money. I'm
Did
short.
you go shopping for a different house?
No, I don't have the money to pay the mortgage on this house.
I'm not sure you even know how to pay for the mortgage of this house.
I don't have the money. What are we going to do?
You will never have to worry about paying a mortgage. Not ever.
You guys, the comments on these videos are going wild. They are racking up millions of views, and almost to a T, their comment sections look like this. Green flags all the way. His energy is so masculine and calming at the same time. Lucky you. What did I do wrong in life? May this love find me immediately. Like, it's having its intended effect. The women are foaming at the mouth. They're very, very jealous of the women who are uploading these videos. Hence, the incentive cycle is never going to stop. But honestly, does nobody see the problem with this but me? It's starting to feel like it, and I have to talk about it. First, I'm Hannah Cox with Base Politics. Welcome to my channel where I bring you my politically homeless takes on politics and culture. Before we dive in today, make sure you like this video, subscribe to my channel if you have not already, and of course, ring that notification bell so you never miss one of my episodes. I really am not trying to be a negative Nancy. I fear I am going to be today, but this has been my entire newsfeed for like the past week. And at first, I didn't think much of it. If anything, I thought it was kind of cute, even if it was sort of obnoxious, humble bragging. I guess given the fact that there's so many men online who just openly hate women, hate their wives, hate their partners, this sort of felt like a palate cleanse at first because these men all do seem genuinely bemused at the thought of their wives paying bills. They don't seem embittered about their roles as providers. Like, the dynamics are cute. And ultimately, healthy relationships, couples who actually like each other, we love to see it.
Yeah, anyways, so I can't pay the mortgage this month.
Can't pay the mortgage. Do you know who our mortgage provider even is?
No, I don't. That doesn't matter. I can't pay the mortgage this month.
Can't pay the mortgage this month, okay. I don't think you've ever paid the mortgage. It's been 4 months.
I pay the mortgage
since you've
every
been
month.
here. You've paid the what?
I can't pay the mortgage this
I don't know
month.
what you're doing. I mean, okay, whatever. I'll get it this month, okay? And then 30 years from now you can get it then? Is that what you want me to do? I don't know. I don't get it. Is this like a TikTok? What are you doing?
I have something to tell you
Okay. Why are you recording?
because it's important, and don't be upset, okay? I cannot make the mortgage this month. I can't pay it.
You don't pay the mortgage.
I'm just letting you know I can't pay it this month.
You don't pay it any month. I'm confused. What do you?
I'm just letting you know I can't pay it this month.
That's not a part of your responsibilities. You take care of the kids. I pay the mortgage.
I know.
You bend over the counter.
My
I
God!
pay your car payment.
I can't make the car payment this month either.
You don't. What do you mean? You don't pay the car payment. I don't.
I'm just letting you know this month, I can't pay the mortgage or the car payment. I can't do it. I'm just letting you know.
That's not part of your responsibility. That's mine.
But I don't know, after the 100th video I saw of this trend being pushed, I did what I always do and asked, why is China shoving this down my throat? I get really annoyed at Americans who are super censorship happy. I have a lawsuit that is hopefully heading to the Supreme Court very, very soon, challenging the Biden administration's ban on TikTok over free speech grounds. But listen, I hate TikTok. I have so many issues with them. And I think that while the concerns of mostly the right are overblown about China being able to use this app to push their propaganda, that's not really happening. It's Americans' content, okay? Americans are uploading these videos. But what I will say is that the company can then capitalize on its algorithm and push trends and narratives that are ultimately harmful for us and therefore can weaken the social fabric of our country. And because of that, Americans need to be more aware, okay? They need to be more educated about how they use social media and about the ability for algorithms to do that in general. I think that's true for all social media companies. I'm actually far more concerned with the propaganda and narratives my own government is trying to push on me via social media than I am versus the Chinese government. But as a whole, if you're not aware of this, if you don't keep that in mind, you're going to be very easily played by people who have intentional interest in getting you to think a certain way or feel a certain way. One of my dearest and oldest mentors, the incredible Glenn Reynolds of Instapundit, actually wrote an incredible article. I'll link it in my show notes if you want to read the entire thing. The article is actually more in relation to what we saw happen with the past election, where essentially the entire narrative the left had concocted about what was likely to happen in that election, how Americans were feeling about certain issues completely fell apart. And in his piece, he talks about something called preference falsification and how essentially our media and our social media websites, working in conjunction with the left, were able to push this narrative that made a lot of Americans feel very isolated and alone in pushing back against the status quo. We saw that during COVID. We also saw that leading up to the 2024 election. Now, given how the results went down, Trump obviously won in a landslide, and not only did he win, he won the popular vote. The preference falsification scheme is starting to fall apart. But I'll read you a quick excerpt from this piece because I think this is really important stuff to be aware of. He wrote, "This technique used by totalitarians of all sorts is called preference falsification, in which people are forced to profess beliefs and things that they know not to be true. If the powers that be are good at it, virtually every citizen can hate them and want them out, but no one will do anything because every citizen who feels that way thinks they're the only one or one of a tiny number." Now, obviously, social media algorithms can play a big part in creating this preference falsification. If you are being fed video after video after video showing you all of these women don't pay bills, all of their husbands provide for them, and they just have these soft lives and you don't, it is going to create a false perception for you. Not only is it going to create the perception that a lot of women have something you don't, it's going to create the perception that you are a fool for not wanting that and obtaining it. So the question that I must ask here is, first and foremost, is this what most women want? This idea that's being force-fed to us online right now, do most women want to not work, to never pay a bill, to not become fully functioning adults and instead just be passed from their father to their husband as some sort of perpetual child whose only function is reproduction?
Seeing all the women be like, I can't pay the mortgage this month, and their husbands responding being like, do you know how to pay the mortgage, is the funniest thing to me. This week, I realized that I don't know how to be an adult. Like, every adulting thing that, happens in my life, Ryan does. My husband does that. He pays the mortgage. He pays the car payment. He got our house. Dead ass did all the searching. He just took me to see it and said, tell me which one you want and sign this paper. Done. Nothing else was done on my end. All our bank account information, he has it. And not in a way that, I don't have, I have access to all the money. I just don't have to worry about it. I don't worry about a damn thing. I am not an adult. I don't know the price of gas currently. I don't fill that gas tank up. Oh my God. And it's just funny because I realized that this week and I kind of felt bad for a second. Then this trend started and I was like, all right, I'm not alone, ladies. We got this shit.
There is probably No one online I relate to less than this kind of woman who comes on social media and makes these kinds of videos. I turn my brain off. You're bragging about that. Now, fortunately, I want to say on this video, finally, the comments started to pass the vibe check. I started feeling like I was not the only one. And I think it started to shift my algorithm because TikTok noticed that I was leaning more in the direction of where these comments are. One woman said, not knowing how to do these things or how to manage life is ridiculous. Even if the marriage is solid and no one runs off, what happens if the spouse passes away? Can you step up? Another person said, the concept of not knowing this stuff scares me. Someone else said, couldn't be me. I watched this happen to my mom, and when my dad passed, she had to figure out all the financials on her own. It's worth knowing. Like, I am afraid for these women, okay? I don't identify with not wanting to work to begin with. I don't get it, couldn't relate. I get not wanting to do some kinds of work, sure. Like, I haven't liked every job that I've had, but the ability to work hard, to move classes, to command your own destiny, to pursue meaningful work, I think is one of the greatest gifts I was given in being born where and when I was. But set that aside, okay? Let's say that you are just lazy and you hate work and you have no ambitions and you just want to be a sloth that doesn't have any responsibilities and doesn't do anything in the world. I can't even like put myself in that place. Like, what are you doing with your time? Okay, for sake of the video, I'm gonna just keep pretending that I understand that kind of person. Okay, but let's say you're that person, okay? And that's somehow a like normal way to feel about being alive. Even if you are very fortunate to have married a good and faithful man who will not financially abuse you in this kind of situation, who will not cheat on you or leave you, which is a lot of them, there are still a great many things outside of your control. I have a friend in the Liberty movement who had 3 young daughters. I think one of them was under 2 years old, and she had a wonderful husband. They were deeply in love, and he got up one morning and got in an Uber to go to the airport on a work trip and was killed on the way there, leaving her with 3 young girls that she then had to take care of. When I was 3 or 4 years old, I had an uncle, my dad's brother, who worked for the utility company, get injured in his line of work. He got a brain injury and no longer could hold down a job and also needed a lot of physical care. And he and his wife had 3 young kids, one of whom had special needs. I had my best friend's mom in college who had been married to a very wealthy man for many years, had another child with him, had not worked throughout the entire marriage. He became an alcoholic and abusive, and she started seeking to get out of that marriage, but then she didn't have the money or the resources to leave, and he started hiding all of his money from her and paying very expensive attorneys who drug the divorce out for 7 years. So she had to basically live in poverty. And fortunately, my best friend had a trust fund from a previous marriage of hers, his actual father, that he was able to hand over to her so that she could live while she tried to fight this man. Not everybody would be so lucky. Like, the list goes on and on and on of all the things that could go wrong. So if you're just turning your brain off, I'm not sure you had much of one to begin with. I just don't think this is cute or funny. I don't think it's good advice, and I don't think that it's advice that's being provided to women with good intentions. Like, seriously, ask yourself, who benefits from women being infantilized and incapable? It obviously is not women, nor is it good men, okay? I must point this out over and over and over again. It's very easy to tell when a man is a good man or a shallow man or a bad man. And in large part, you can tell that by looking at the kinds of women they are attracted to, looking at who they want in a partner. Bad men and shallow men are attracted to women that they can control or who seem beneath them, who they feel they are smarter than. Good men, men of character, want smart women. They want women of character. They want to reproduce with women who have good genes, who are intelligent, who are dependable. I point this out over and over and over in relation to all of the red pill crap. But if you're so worried about ending up getting divorced or having to pay alimony or having to pay child support, well, then if that's what you're worried about, you should be into the girl boss, okay? You should be into the woman who has degrees, who has her own career. Not only is she less likely to leave you, but she will be in a financial position where you won't be screwed in the courts if the marriage does fall apart. The men who want a deadweight partner, an immature partner, they are immature and deadweight themselves, okay? Because not only will that woman not have the mental energy needed for raising kids and running a house and building a life together and being a full actual partner, but also she's going to pass on those negative genes and traits to your kids. So I'm very, very wary of men who are after women that have their brains turned off as well.
That like telling my husband I don't have the money to pay the mortgage trend was truly designed in a lab to irritate me personally. Because first of all, I loathe couples accounts and couples content generally. Like, please stop shoving a camera in this man's face and pretending like these are genuine reactions. Like, I don't want to see your husband being all fake sexy like, baby, you know you don't pay the mortgage in this house. And then the comments being flooded with people taking it at face value and being like, God, I've seen what you've done for others. But what I really hate is that the general vibe of most of these videos, especially the ones that go viral, is it's like a laughable, unthinkable situation that the wife would be paying the mortgage or really any bills. And I do personally pay the mortgage in my house every month and am proud to do so. So obviously I'm a little biased, but I think the general underlying message is still very much worth unpacking, because I do think this generation is getting far enough removed from the time when women had literally no financial independence to now idolize voluntarily choosing that. And it's not to say that a woman has to pay the bills, but like, she should know who has the mortgage. She should have access to all the accounts. She should be aware of what bills are being paid and how much they are. She should also have her own emergency fund in addition to the one shared by the couple should for any reason she need to leave. Because you know what a healthy couple situation would be? A couple having shared visibility into their finances, the person who handles one bill saying, hey, it looks like we don't have enough to cover it, and the couple sitting down and figuring out how they're going to handle that from a budgetary perspective now and going forward. But I guess that doesn't get views.
This woman often drives me a little bit nutty on TikTok because she's a bit of a socialist, but she makes some good points in this video. And one of which is that these people, a lot of them, are lying for the camera. And the people just keep falling for it. In the US, only about 28% of married couples with children have a single income household where only one spouse works while the other stays home and pays no bills. So not only are there deep problems with this lifestyle that's being marketed to women, it's also based in a false sense of reality, and it's meant to sow discontentment. Again, who benefits from men and women not getting along in the US, not being able to form partnerships in the US, becoming discontent with what one another has to offer? I've said for quite some time that I think the red pill content and also this like fourth wave feminism, if you can even call it that content, I don't even know what you label this garbage, but for some time I have been saying I strongly believe that both of these narratives, both of these movements online are heavily astroturfed, and I feel so confident that our foreign enemies are funding at least some of it, okay? There are so many bots. You've seen it in my comments, right? Anytime I talk about women's issues or men's issues, often when I'm not even talking about women's issues or men's issues, these weird bots with bad English come in and write random crap in my comments. I see this all over YouTube, all over TikTok, all over Twitter. Something's up here. And what I think is so ironic here is not only are these movements both somewhat successfully sowing a seed of discord among men and women, really furthering the gender war, they also are both actually attacking women's rights, okay? The red pill movement does it quite obviously and overtly, but this fourth wave, wherever we're at in this feminism spectrum here, it is also attacking women's rights. These trends are literally going for the jugular of first wave feminism. And it is just shocking to me how few women realize that and how easily they are falling for it.
I am so tired of women on this app trying to sell us being dependent on men as aspirational. It's the pranking my husband, telling him I can't pay the mortgage this month trend. It's the trad wife content. It's the soft life content. It's all the women who tell other women that they're like essentially losers and gender traders if they have ever paid for anything in their entire life. The only reason that you can see all of that as aspirational is because generations of women worked so hard to make you so far removed from the oppression that is depending on a man for money, food, shelter, everything, that you don't even recognize it as oppression anymore. You can be sold it as a dream. Unless the women in these types of content all have their own income that's actually coming in, so they have their own money, or they don't have their own money, they don't have their own income, but they have some type of legal agreement where like part of his paycheck goes into my account. If we split up, I get this much of your retirement, I get this much alimony, I get this much child support. Unless that's the situation, they're not living aspirational lives, they're living vulnerable lives. Every other week on this app, we have to rehash, why did women have to ruin it for all of us and go get jobs? Because you need money. Because you need money that you have control over. It's the only thing that keeps you safe in this world. I'm sorry, it's capitalism, but like women didn't just go get jobs to earn their own money and keep having to do all the work at home for funsies. And every socio-political cultural force at the moment in this country is clawing us back to a time when we had to depend on men for everything. And this type of content is literally part of that. You can't rely on men for money indefinitely. You can rely on men for money conditionally. Conditional on them wanting to keep you around, conditional on the child support and the alimony and the family court system working in your favor, and that man not evading all those things and hiding assets and being awful. And you can call me a jealous hater, like, I don't care. I'll take one for the team and have this conversation because I feel like we need to have it. But like, it's okay to aspire to not be financially insecure with the person you're sleeping next to. It's okay to aspire for there to be no one in your home that has leverage against you in any way. That includes like knowing what's going on in your house with the money. Like if your husband makes so much money that you do not have to pay bills, I think you should still like know how the mortgage gets paid and like maybe have some oversight. And I just worry about the girls and the young women watching this content because for so many reasons. You're giving them unrealistic expectations of the type of men that are going to be available to marry. Like, don't marry a man if you don't want to marry a man. Don't settle. But there's not that many men out there that make enough money to pay for everyone's bills and pay for the lifestyle that you actually want to live. Because most people, when they're watching this content, oh my God, she doesn't pay any bills, blah, blah, blah. They're imagining like vacations and your kids going to camp and new clothes and new phone and eating out and whatever. Most households have to have two incomes to afford that. There's not that many men that earn $200,000+ out there. There's just not. I'm sorry. And you know what the men are out there saying about why not enough of them earn $200,000+ a year and can't give a woman this lifestyle? They say it's because we had the gall to want our own money. They said it's because we had the gall to want to go and work and have our own financial security and be beholden to no one and have choice in who we marry and go to school. They say it's because of that. And this type of content feeds that delusion. And I get the sentiment, I truly do, of like, men created this world. They have all the power, they have all the influence, they have all the legs up they could ever need, and they created this system, so they should pay for everything. I truly get that. But like, why do you think women started out until truly like 50 years ago, largely being dependent on men for everything? Food, shelter, everything. Like no bank account, no credit card, no being able to. Why do you think that was the system that they put in place? Because it benefited them and not benefited us. So please stop trying to sell it back to us as some utopian soft life, I'm just a girl dream.
That video was perfection. Well, with one caveat, okay? Capitalism is not why you need money or why you have to work. I guess this is a tall order. I mean, I got more from her than I do most of these clowns online, but good God, the lack of a fundamental understanding of what capitalism is, and actually even to expand upon that, the lack of understanding of reality. There are a scarcity of resources in the world, okay? And in order to obtain those resources and to combine them into whole parts that create the items you need to live, especially at the level that we all live at this point in history, you need a lot of people to voluntarily go work. People would not do that without what we call an incentive. Now, we use money as a form of incentive in this country and under capitalism. But before capitalism was a concept, which is really only 250 years ago, these basic premises still existed. People still had to work. You understand that, right? And they had to work a lot harder because capitalism had not yet made us so rich. We didn't have all of the innovations that we now have thanks to capitalism that has made work easier and that has made it a requirement that takes less and less time out of our lives. But even if you got rid of capitalism, you would still have to work and you would still have to have some kind of incentive that made people want to go out and voluntarily work and create things and produce things and then give them to you. Anyways, I don't have time for this rant today. I have a primer on capitalism. Please go watch it to educate yourselves or to give to the masses that need to hear it. Because I'm a feminist, I have to say this over and over and over again. It's actually quite annoying. But if you want to be a stay-at-home mom, cool. I don't care. I will support your right to do that. And so will 99.9% of other feminists. No feminist is out here coming for stay-at-home moms, coming for motherhood in general. We don't care to the extent that you are educated and informed about what you're doing. I have made multiple videos about this, about trad wives, about being a stay-at-home mom, about motherhood in general, about why I personally will not be having kids. I am not going to re-summarize all of that for you here. I do think it's important, though, that if you are going into one of those lifestyles, that you have all of the information you need to protect yourself. Number one, you are likely going to have a lower quality of life, okay? Very few people out there in society can give you the lifestyle that you could have with 2 incomes on one. And that's okay. Materials are not everything, right? Not everybody cares about having a certain level of lifestyle. Some people would prefer to stay home with their kids. That's totally okay. But know what you're signing up for, because what the algorithms are trying to sell you is that you will have a millionaire lifestyle on a single income. And that's just delusional. And even if you are to obtain that, let's say you get one of these men who are a high income earner, you need to be very, very aware of the strings that usually come attached with that. I've also made in-depth videos talking about the gold digger lifestyle and the sprinkle sprinkle movement and the pitfalls I see within them. A lot of men will use finances to abuse and control you. There are plenty of men who have a lot of money, but just because you are married to them does not mean that they will be generous with it, does not mean that they will not hold it over your head, does not mean that they will let you control it. It took me only 11 months of dating one trust fund baby at like 23 years old to get wise to this. He was crazy, and so was his family. And after literally 11 months, I was like, I don't care how much money they have. I would much rather go out and work and earn my own. And boy, was I right. He's a mess to this day. The other thing I think women need to be aware of is if you do step into these lifestyles, it will often be very isolated, and over time it will get boring, okay? As your kids age, you're going to have less and less to do in that role. They're going to need you less and less, and eventually they will leave you. And at that point, it's going to be really hard to get back into the workforce and to have something of your own. So yeah, if you want to do it, go for it. I will never ever work to stop you. I certainly would never work to put laws into place that would prevent you from doing it. But what I will say is that knowing what I know, I would never ever make that lifestyle choice for myself. And a lot of women who have done so regret it and have spoken out about it. You need to, at the very least, listen to them and protect yourself, because ultimately this can be used as a way to trap you.
This man just wants to play house. I'm a trophy wife for him. He goes and makes the money when he comes home and gets to tell me that I don't have a real job because I don't bring home money. So because I don't bring home money, you think I don't bring home value? You think I don't add value to your life, to your kid's life?
So yeah, as for me and my family, I'm gonna be working. And I often see people in my comments when I talk about this and when I talk about the value of work and how much I enjoy work and how I think work is a privilege and an honor and really fundamentally good for people. People are like, well, you just have a YouTube channel. You just make online content. Yeah, I just woke up one day and was able to have a high quality lifestyle doing this kind of work. No, I worked really hard behind the scenes to get to where I am. I still work really hard. I still do a lot of things that you're probably not privy to in the political sector. I work my tail off, and I do feel very fortunate to have lived in a country where I could work hard, find meaningful work, be able to work my way up the ladder in my chosen field, and have a job that I find purpose in and that I enjoy and that uses my skill sets. But anybody can do that. Anybody can, okay? You just have to work really, really hard. I don't have a lot of sympathy for people who are like, well, I have a boring job or I have a dead-end job. That's your choice. You live in the US. I'm not saying it's easy. It definitely was not easy for me, but it is your choice. So you can either feel sorry for yourself and hate your life, or you can go do the hard work you need to do in order to craft a life that you actually like and enjoy. But you're not going to change my mind that work is ultimately a good thing for people. Without it, they tend to atrophy. I also think having a 2-income household is bomb, okay? It was like one of the main reasons I was even attracted to marriage ever as a concept. Like, I'm a Capricorn. I'm very type A. I am a hard worker. I like money. And I don't just like money because I like nice things. I do. I like nice things. I like money because I like security. I like not having to stress about how we're going to pay for something. I like the opportunity to build and to save. And so to me, that is like, I'm stoked about it. I mean, my husband and I have not combined bills fully yet. So I guess technically he has been paying my mortgage for the past almost year since we've been married, but that's mostly because I still own another home that I'm having to float until it sells. Like eventually that is our plan, is to combine our finances. I don't get these couples. Like, I don't even understand like what people mean when they say going 50-50 in a relationship. Like, are you guys like trading Venmos back and forth? Like, I don't understand, because you're married. Like everything you have belongs to one another. You know, you entered a business relationship, right? Like with government contracts backing it up. So if you're doing that, it's just kind of an illusion. It's really silly to me. Like, we will be creating joint bank accounts. We will be on the same credit cards. We will be meeting regularly to determine how we will make the most out of the money that we have coming in. Probably what we'll ultimately do is choose to live off one person's income and totally just invest and save the others, because we do both have pretty good salaries. Like, that is an awesome opportunity to build, to be able to save for retirement, to be able to save for our future, to be able to save for larger expenses we want to make down the road. I just don't really understand somebody who would choose to sit on their hands and forgo that opportunity if you're lucky enough to have found somebody else that you want to spend your life with. Go build something together. Relationships are obviously not a one size fits all approach. I'm not here to micromanage anybody's life. Like, structure your relationship however it makes sense for you. But women need to be smart about it. Heck, men need to be smart about it, okay? It is a business relationship, so act like it. And do not let algorithms or people lying for clicks manipulate you out of your common sense or your contentment in life. All right, guys, I hope you liked this episode. Make sure to like the videos, subscribe to my channel if you've not already, and if you want even more content, you can follow me on Instagram, Twitter, or TikTok.